All right, guess what? So I don't know if you can tell if this is reversed or if this is true. Anyway, this is the shoulder I had surgery on, and 3 years ago, for an AC joint separation. And as you can see, the sling is for my right arm. That's what I did. Should be pretty obvious, but yep, separated the AC joint. Um, I've been a very cautious mountain biker ever since my accident because I didn't want to do this again. And the last time really wasn't even about skill, it was just kind of a fluke freak accident. Well, uh, it happened, and the circumstances are uncanny, and it's almost kind of scary how identical the situation is. So, last time Tara was pregnant with Faye, and she was due in October, and we were going to go to Hawaii mid August. So I had my crash right at the end of July and got surgery I got it within 4 days of my crash. So uh, it was July 31st first that I got my surgery. So I was in Hawaii with a sling, recovering from my surgery, couldn't really do much. This year I have about 2 weeks ahead of that, so that's my first win, I'll call it. But yeah, so Tara is pregnant again. She's due in October, and we are going to Hawaii mid August, and I have something to deal with. Now, here's the thing. As soon as I crashed, I knew what happened immediately. I know it's a sensation I'm familiar with, and as soon as I touched my shoulder, I could feel it. I said the words, "Not again," and that didn't magically make it better, but yeah, it did happen again, and so I'm here dealing with it. Um, the other positive is that it's pretty much just that. Like I just landed on it, and I don't have tons of scrapes or bruises that I got to contend with. So that's a positive. But I knew what I was dealing with. I had a fanny pack this time, which I used as a sling to help me get down. I had 2/3 of the way down to go, and in mountain biking, that's another 5-10 minutes. But walking, it was like a half hour to an hour. So I didn't want to stop anybody and make them have to walk their bike down with mine, and figured I could do it on my own. So I walked down as best I could, as fast as I could, and met with my niece who took my bike from me and helped me finish my ride. So, or not ride, finish my journey down. But when I crashed, I thought, that's it. I am getting surgery again. I know what this is. I know what the protocol is. I'm very happy with how this turned out, with a few exceptions, and I'll explain in a minute. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. Um, so I kind of just knew, let's get on the schedule and let's see the doctor ASAP. So I go to the doctor, and he says, yep, looks like last time, but maybe a little bit less of a posterior displacement. So he's like, it's a little bit better, or basically his words. And last time he pretty much was like, you should probably he pretty much said you should get surgery, right? Like that was his recommendation. I don't even remember him really talking about the wait and see option, but he was just saying like, if you want to get that functionality back, if you want to, of course, cosmetics, if you want it to look good, do it. But if you are pretty serious about your athletics, if you want to continue doing certain things without much difference, I recommend surgery. This time he just kind of said like, it's a little bit better than last time. You could try it out, see for the next 6 weeks, and if you feel like you want surgery, we can schedule it. Which I was a little bit surprised by. I was ready for him to say like, yep, let's get you on the calendar. But he left it more up to me, and I looked at his schedule, and he was busy for the next 2 weeks. So like, being ahead of schedule didn't help me this time. Still would get surgery about the same time if I did it. So my question was, if I'm going to spend 2.5 weeks uh, recovering already, why don't we just wait and see? Because I'll probably stay in the sling off and on for 2 weeks, and then I'll start rehabbing it, and I'll use the sling less and less. But if I'm already starting, it's not going to make any difference. Like, my biggest problem is being in the sling. Like, the the weight loading is kind of negligible. It's still several months out before I'm like no restrictions on my weightlifting, and yeah, it just didn't provide me any benefit to try to rush and do it. So if I'm going to wait 2 weeks, I might as well wait 6 and see how this turns out. I left the appointment feeling like that's what I wanted to do. I felt pretty confident about it. I actually felt pretty comfortable, like, with the idea of not even doing surgery. Like, I felt like I could do it. I decided to go to the physical therapist next door and just ask him a few questions. And he's like, well, if it's a 1 through 3, there's a good chance that you can rehab it and you'll feel happy with the results. 4 through 6, almost always they get the surgery, even if they try to rehab it first. And I was like, okay, well, let's. What did I have? I don't remember being told. And so I asked for them to tell me, and I couldn't get that number from them. But I was able to get the X-rays. Here's the thing. So a 3 is a complete detachment, which is what I have. You can't really see. You usually can't see the 1s and 2s, but 3s you can, and that's what this is. 4 is when it points backwards a little bit. 5 is when it's just really high, and then 6 is when it's really low. And I know I didn't have 5 and 6, but did I have 4? And if I did, then I should do the surgery. Like, I just want to get it over with. I don't want to. If I don't, I'm not a fan of trying to beat the odds. I like to look at statistics and make my decisions based on what's most probable. So drawing it out and waiting just doesn't sound appealing to me. Because whenever I get the surgery, it's as if I re-injure my shoulder and I have to go through this weight-bearing protocol where I have to be careful. So really don't want to play the game. But I couldn't remember what he had said. Like, he did say it had a slight posterior, but I didn't know if that was like, does that mean it's a 4, or do you still categorize this as a 3? And the physical therapist was saying, well, you have a monkey on your back, and it's really up to your shoulder to tell you what you should do. And it's super common for people to not try to rush the surgery, but instead go through rehab for 4 to 6 weeks and then make the decision. And that's what I would like to do. Now, it's complicated because if I do the surgery, I have a baby coming in October, and that's the best case scenario. He could come early. So I'm forced to pick what I want to do, and it's stressing me out. And every time I make a decision, I go look online, and I'm like, oh, I see people saying something else, and so I flip flop back and forth. But after talking to a few people, I feel comfortable holding off on surgery, going this full rehab schedule to see what my mobility is. I'm going into this knowing that stability will be an issue for the rest of my life, and possibly arthritis later. The point is that there are people who rely on me quite heavily. I have a daughter who can't wipe her own butt. I am going to have a son who obviously can't take care of anything. So the timing does matter. Like, if I do this later, I'd rather do it later than too late and then having my wife pick up the bill. So yeah, I think the best choice is to rehab it and see what it's like after 6 weeks. And if I feel like it needs surgery, then I can do it the day I get back from Hawaii. And I'll be out of the sling, and I'll have some weight restrictions on my shoulder, but I'll be on my way to recovery, and that'll be it. Or I can start now that the clock started on Wednesday, 3 days ago. And I can start to recover, I can start bearing weight, and I can start being very useful for most activities much sooner. I'd be ahead by a month, 2 months, and that's a big deal. So when I look at it that way, this is clearly what I want to do. I want to overcome this pain, and I want to rehab and figure out what life looks like without surgery. Truth be told, as much as I love how much this shoulder turned out, I still have issues. I don't do well with overhead press. I don't do well with pull-ups. My golf swing is a bit different in a good way, actually. This has taught me to rely on my hips and a few other mechanics that don't involve my muscles, and trying to throw myself into it. So it could be the case that I don't even do surgery ever. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is a great thing because I can compare my progression here versus here. And if I feel like this is progressing better, then I'll know that I'm kind of like a scientific A/B test. I can tell, I'll be able to tell, and yes, this one was a little bit more severe than this one. I think it'll still be a fair comparison. A lot of people have this idea that they'll have everything fixed by a much quicker timeline, but it took me a long time to do bench presses. It took me a long time to do swimming. Even now, wearing a backpack sucks with this. There's still things with this that I feel, and so it's only fair that I give myself the same credibility and time with my other shoulder. So I'm in a unique position. I can do this 6 months later, 8 months later, and if I change my mind, and I think by then I definitely know. The benefit to doing it now versus then is just that there's a lot of blood around the site, so there might be some better healing involved. And I've read that there is, like, if you do the artificial ligaments, that there's a chance that you'll basically build up some type of a network of your own ligament on top of it. But that's basically not an option in the 6 months. But that's, again, it's not a big deal for me. I don't really care. So I got my x-rays and I sent them to another orthopedic surgeon who said, yeah, this looks like just like a grade 3 to me. This definitely isn't a 4. So conservative, non-surgical is perfectly fine option. Trying to think what else. Cosmetically, I'm married. I plan to be married forever, and even if I don't think anybody's not going to love me because of that. And who knows? Maybe I'll just get some amazing traps, and you won't even notice it because of my big muscles. But not too worried about that. I don't like being caught with a shirt off most of the time anyway. And so, and I have got a great personality, so I'm not too worried about that. So this really, what's making the decision for me is mostly the timing. If I didn't have a child on the way, I would opt for surgery because, I mean, why not? There are complications, but this, like, it's a little numb here. Like, there's still a loss of feeling. You get a scar, so in exchange for a bump, you get a scar. And there could be some complications. It could break. There could be some issues. But I don't feel like I'm playing the odds here, and I don't think the odds suggest that there's a big chance for failure if I did surgery. But just the fact that he's booked 2.5 weeks out, and I've got a baby on the way, and we're going to Hawaii. I just want to get started on the recovery process sooner. And if ultimately I don't see much of a difference, like performance-wise, based on the two shoulders, then I'll feel good about my decision. It's in the back of my mind, like, maybe I won't feel like bench pressing ever again. But frankly, if I'm being honest, I I, I'm not a competitive weightlifter. When I think about what I do, I bench press. I'm very weak. I bench 185, and that's kind of where I live. I don't have any ambitions to go higher than that. So, do I really care about bench pressing? Not really. What I do care about is food and being able to eat a lot of it. So, that's part of the reason why I exercise. I also do like a good physique, but I don't think that that's necessarily about weightlifting. And also, there are plenty of machines I can use. You know, my life might look different, but like I have before this accident, I had already moved on from the idea of like um, reaching my physical limits. Like I know what I enjoy, and I just want to have the physique to enjoy those things. It used to be mountain biking. I'm not sure I'm going to mountain bike anymore. Not because I just feel like I'm not in control as much as I thought I was. Um, I could get a better bike, but I don't want to find out if that's the reason. Um, Hiking, skiing, golfing, running. Not sure about road biking anymore either. Evidently, you usually get more injured on road biking than you do on mountain biking, but maybe the type of road biking I do is more tame than that. I mean, I do like getting on a bike and toting my daughter around, but that's a different kind of mountain biking or a different kind of biking. So, not sure. That's still to be decided, but I just can't see myself doing mountain biking until all my kids are grown, can wipe their own butts, and I can be taken care of again without feeling guilty. So, yeah, that's my thought. I'm going to be the human A/B test for these shoulders, and hopefully my findings are valuable to science.